do me a really quick favour? I have noticed that my mic is flashing, so I'm not entirely sure whether you can hear me or not. I did think I charged this up last time I finished using it, so you'll have to wait and see. So if you can't hear me, could you leave me a comment, and then I'll take the microphone off and come and speak a little bit closer to the camera. So good morning, hello and welcome. It's Julie here, your host of Flower Start, the online flower arranging classes. It is the middle of November, the 15th of November, and thank goodness I wasn't filming yesterday, because we had a really, for us, quite a thick fog for most of the day. So I've challenged myself today to find out whether in the middle of November I can pick enough flowers to make casual vase arrangement. So what do you reckon? Am I going to be able to pick enough from my garden? So if you are watching, can you just leave a comment and let me know whether you can hear me okay? If you can't hear me, I will unplug the mic and then rely on the mic from my phone. You just need to pull something out from the side. So let's go. I have a pair of scissors, and I don't know whether you can spot anything here. I know I have got some zinnias just a little bit out of shot here, so I'm going to cut the last of my zinnias, and then I'm thinking perhaps some of my taller lobelia. So let's go. So rather interestingly, when I did my filming for yesterday's video, the one that went live yesterday, when I was putting my dry flowers back in the workshop, I still had my microphone on. And when I was editing the film, I could hear myself in the workshop. Perhaps that's the problem. I have used my microphone, and that was to film yesterday's video. Perhaps I have run out of juice. I may well come down and take my microphone off. Can you hear me at all? Can you hear me? Not sure. I'm going to take that off then, because I think it may have it may have died. So I will come a little bit closer. So I'm not sure whether you can hear me okay. I think my microphone has just died. So hello and welcome. Shall we start the video again? I've challenged myself to see whether I can pick enough flowers from my garden here in the middle of November to put together a display. Now I've just cut some lobelia, and I don't know whether you remember the video from a few weeks ago when I cut the hot lips lobelia, the one with the white and the red flower. And I said I didn't really like lobelia, and I was trying to kill it off in the art of pretending to do some gardening. And I wanted to give a shout out to Christine. So Christine, if you are watching, Christine made her own lobelia hot lips dory, and it looked fabulous. So if you remember when I made mine, I overbound and overbound, so I had no flowers showing. And the photograph that Christine tagged me in on Instagram, she had left some of her beautiful flower trails, so it all looked really stunning. Of course the flowers wouldn't last very long, probably a little bit longer than you might think, because it's quite cool outside, but of course it looked great for the Instagram shot, and that's what it's about, isn't it? Flicking through our own personal galleries of photographs and remembering the good old days about summer. So if you are making any of the projects I share with you here as I'm in my garden, you're welcome to tag me as well. So on Instagram, I'm at Flower Start with an underscore at the end. Or of course, you're welcome to join my free Facebook group, Flower Start World, and I'll leave links to both of those underneath the video once it goes live. Good morning, Joan. Joan, can you hear me okay? It's very windy with you today. I've taken my mic off because I think the battery had died. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Fantastic. Joan can hear me all the way across the sea from me. So shout out to Christine, and yeah, an invitation to tag me whenever you want on Instagram. I love seeing your flower arranging projects, and of course all the chat really takes place in my free Facebook group, so hop over and join me. So I've got something else to show you before we get on with the flowers. Do you remember a while back I showed you how I was fingers crossed that the indoor flowering bulbs I had treated rather rough, well not roughly, I had neglected them really. Normally I plant my flowering bulbs once they've flowered indoors, I plant them in my flower beds outdoors, and I sometimes lose them in the process. I know where I plant them, but they don't always come back up again. So this time I saved these all the way through the summer. I let the green die off, and they've been under my kitchen windowsill. I was wondering whether perhaps they had rotted too much and just sort of they were spent. But I planted these up and put them under my bed, under the spare bed, and I've had to take them out of from under the spare bed because we're having carpets fitted this week, and lo and behold I have some growth. I think this is the paper white narcissi, and really it's way too tall. I kind of wanted it flowering, you know, between Christmas and New Year and into the New Year. So I think if I was to do this again, I think I would definitely hold back on the paper white narcissi and probably not plant those until after Christmas. But you can see they're growing, and also I've got some new growth there as well. So I think in the end I had about 6, 8, I don't know, 10 tubs of bulbs. So the bulbs I bought brand new, hyacinths are sort of coming on quite well, and everything else is a bit hit and miss. So I probably had, you know, put as many bulbs as I could into the containers, and probably here 50% of them have started to sprout, possibly 2/3, I'm not quite sure. But what I could do is I have got sort of half naked containers of bulbs. I could always repot them up and you know, get rid of the ones that haven't flowered, don't look like they're going to develop, and replant the ones that are going to develop into one bowl to make it look as if it's a success rather than being a partial failure. So there we go. The problem now I've got, I don't quite know where to put these, so they're currently on the floor in my workshop. My workshop is chock-a-block at the moment because I'm having one of my decluttering, I'm going through a decluttering phase at the moment, and actual fact I'm having a sale of my flower arranging paraphernalia, my thrifted finds, and some of my makes. So if you're local to me here in Kent, do look out on the social media for the posts that I'm putting up, and if you're on my mailing list, I will be telling you more about that sale, which takes place this Saturday. What date is it on Saturday? The 19th, something like that, between 11 and 1 at my house. I'm not laying on any refreshments. Everything will be priced around about £5, so come with your money. I accept cash and also card payments too. So that's the advert out of the way. So today's project is trying to see whether I can get perhaps one final arrangement of flowers. So I have decided to put my arrangement of flowers, oh that's a bit muddy, into this watering can. I'm thinking I might, you know, all my sparsely flowered areas in the garden, I might consolidate them and put them on my patio table. Now there's a problem with this watering can. It is purely decorative. A friend from Flower Club gave it to me because she was decluttering her stash. And when I used it in the summer, or perhaps it was the summer before, it actually leaks. So what I'm going to do is perhaps finally say goodnight to my milk carton bucket that I was collecting flowers in the height of the summer, and I will put, well, effectively line the container. So it's not a particularly big opening on this bucket, but I thought if I put my bucket, my little pot in there, put it in there, it means I won't get a load of water spilling all over the place. So I have this rather nice enamel pot, which again was gifted to me by a friend who was getting rid of it, decluttering. I could use this to arrange my flowers in, but it's got quite a small opening, and in actual fact it's quite tall as well. And with it being the end of the season for my flowers, I can't really guarantee that I'm going to have lots of lovely long stems. So I have decided not to use that one. I'm going to use that. So a little bit of collecting. So always popular, well, always plentiful I should say in my garden, I've got the buried ivy. So buried ivy because it's got the berries on it. So this really for me is a Christmassy kind of greenery. So I don't normally use this to arrange my flowers in the summertime because I just think it says winter. But as we're moving into that wintry season, I thought I would use this to fill out my container. I've also got 2 heads of hydrangea, and don't they look absolutely gorgeous? And to be honest, I've said it before, our hydrangea never does particularly well in our garden, and I don't know what it is, doesn't like our soil, perhaps it's too hot, we've got a south facing garden, and it's really, if you're thinking of drying hydrangea from the garden, you need to, if you haven't done it already, you need to be picking your perfect heads now. Now this, if I turn it round, is starting to rot on the bush. Can you see it's going all sort of skeletonized, this petal here. And once your petals are starting to go brown and skeletonized, you kind of missed the zone for drying. But if I held it back there, they look quite good for drying. So this doesn't matter really about going into the water. I could perhaps put these bits of flour in the outside edge of my container. We'll have to wait and see. And then talking about lobelia and the wreath that Christine made, I have picked some of the taller lobelia out of the garden. So I have got some long stems there. I picked these long because they were flopping over to the flower bed, and I know from the height of our grass that next time we get the grass dries off, we get a little bit of sunshine, my husband will be going out and mowing the lawn, and he will be hoping that that's the last mow of the lawn until the spring next year. But with this unseasonably warm weather that we're getting, he may well have to go out and mow the lawn again. So get some lobelia, and those lovely zinnias that I talked about, I have managed to pick up some of those as well. I will say that the dahlias are well and truly over. So I reckon I have proved a point, and even in mid-November I can pick enough flowers to create a pretty little vase arrangement. So shall we see if I can put that together? What I might do is just lower the camera a tiny little bit, so hold on to your hats because you might bump down very suddenly like that. Perhaps there, you can see my container now, and I'm looking at my tabletop wondering, how did that get wet? Did I miss fire when I put my water in and slopped around too much? A little bit windy today, so first thing I need to do is think about where my handle of my spout are going, so that I'm thinking that I will view this from the side, so I show off the watering can vibe. I'm going to put in my greenery first, just to give a little bit of structure. Leaves still apply, even though we're just doing a fun thing in the garden. The rules still apply. Take off any bits of green which will sit in the water, recut the stems, and I'm just going to have those dangling over, and I love that, the way it drapes over the side of the pot as if it's cuddling the pot. I can feel though that the weight of this, the berries are quite heavy, the fact I've got quite a short stem and it's just going into plain water, I haven't got any mechanic in there's no scrunched up chicken wire, that I can feel that it wants to roll over a little bit, but hopefully the more plant material I put in there, the more everything will become firmly lodged. So this is quite a long piece. I wonder if I can cut it into two so I can get double use out of it. So one on the back. Oh, that's a bit too small. Oh, perhaps it was that bit. And in fact, I'm going to, if I'm arranging it to you, I'm going to put that bit, it's got a stubby end, I'm going to have that at the back so I can't see it, and we will imagine that that is going to be the front that is facing you. So it's just a smattering of green, and then coming through with my flowers, with my hydrangeas. I'm going to take the leaves off my hydrangeas because if they've got a chance of drying, I want the goodness to go to the head. So normally when you dry hydrangeas, you put them in you take off the leaves and you put them in a really small amount of water, and by the time the hydrangea's taken up the water, your heads should have dried off and they become quite papery, and they probably, to begin with, don't change very much, but over time they do become sort of parchmenty coloured. So that's probably a year or so. If you keep them for a long time, you'll notice that the colour does change over time. Now let's get glamorous. So now I've managed to cut some long stems of the zinnia, but perhaps it's going to be too long for this arrangement because everything else is quite short. I don't want to suddenly come up really high, so I might start low and come high just to see how things are going. So making sure I am aiming my stems into my water and I haven't misfired and gone into the dry bit of the container. And again, making sure that I haven't got much. I'm going to sort of make it a sort of front-facing arrangement. There's not much point in me putting flowers in the back because I want to get the impact, especially as I don't have that many flowers at the end of the season. Of course, I could always pack in some more of my lobelia, but I don't want the flower arrangement to be too spotty and dotty. I want you to actually see I've got stuff in here. So the flowers, they're not absolutely perfect. They're on their last legs, but this way I'll be able to appreciate them. And if I had them in the garden, I can't always see from my kitchen window what's in the garden. It's just a really good way, if I can bring them onto my patio table, of them getting noticed. And here you can see where I've previously cut lengths of my flowers, so I'm going to get rid of those. So just have a nice tall shoot, recut to length, and then pull the leaves off. And now if I put this in, because I have got a quantity of stems, that that one is able to stand up on its own. It's not slopping off to the side of that. Really, really gorgeous there. As that's a little bit smaller, perhaps I could bring that out to the side, just trying to elongate the arrangement a little bit. And you see that it looks quite gappy in here, so I need to decide if I want to put something low. Perhaps I want to recess something. So here again, the head at the end's died. It's on the side shoot here, so I might cut that short. And as long as its toes are in water, I can put it down a little bit lower. Actually, that's probably too short. Cut it too short. Let's cut this long to start with. And then I can always, when I finish arranging, just adjust everything, see how it sits, move things around a little bit. This one's got a rather kinky, twisty head on it. I think it had been tied and it was working its way around the tie. So why don't I take advantage of that kinky bit and get that to show off. And you can see that better. And then I'm going to fill in a little bit with my wafty bits of lobelia that can rise a little bit above. Again, put one in, see how it is. Quite like that coming over the top. And of course, this one here, you see it's got two stems. So what I will do is if I cut that off there, it does give me two individual placements. So if I put it in on one long stem, it would have just looked too big overall. So what I'm doing now is where I'm finding a gap, I'm putting the flowers in. Now this is particularly lovely. The flowers have gone over and then the seed heads are starting to develop. You get that real interesting textural shape. If shape could be a texture, I'm not sure it can, but I'm sure that you know what I mean. In fact, I'm going to cut these all at the same time. This one here has got a spiky flower head that isn't so pretty, so I'm going to cut that one out. The green. And I'm going to cut them all together and then add them in. So a really informal, casual arrangement to sit on my patio table. And the last remnants of summertime, and just to show that you don't need to write your garden off in the winter time, because you may well have more flowers than you think. So I don't know how many stems I've got there. I've probably got, I don't know, let's guess 15 to 20 stems. So my challenge for you today is, can you look around your garden and try and find 15 or 20 stems? Of course, you may not have flowers of the same height as mine. You hear the train going past. Oh, that sounds really loud today. So my flowers are about elbow to fingertip long, it may be that when you look around your garden, you've only got, jam jar length flowers. But again, that is just beautiful to use. So don't ever think that you haven't got flowers that are good enough to use. And perhaps if you haven't got any flowers, you could think about taking some stems of your greenery. Think about the berries and the leaf forms and the shapes and the different colours and textures that you can put together. It's just a really nice way of reconnecting with nature. Instead of just looking out and saying, there's nothing in my garden, perhaps if you really looked, if you walked around your garden with your scissors in your hand and just cut, a handful of stems, it just gives you, again, I always think it gives you just a moment to be, a little bit of a mindful interaction. Here I am with cold fingers. It's windy enough and cold enough that I need to put my jacket on, but that's all. Those are all good things as far as I'm concerned. It's not a nuisance. It's because I'm taking a few moments to become mindful and to really interact with my surroundings, and I'm concentrating on my flowers. And all my jobs to do today, are fading off into the distance for a little while. So on the subject of jobs to do today, it's Zoom flower class at 12 o'clock today. So it's week 7 of Zoom flower class, week 8, and the last class is next week. If you have missed out on the previous classes, do not worry, you can still book your place. And as soon as I receive your monies, I'll leave a link to class in the description underneath the video. I will send you the previous videos you've missed, and then you've got the option of joining live with me next week, or today even. If you get your money across to me today, I can send you the link for class today. So what happens in Zoom Flower class, I'm trying to make it as much like a real life teaching session as possible. I do a demonstration, and because I video it, so you don't appear in the video. If you've got any questions as I go along, you can type them in and I will respond to them. And when the formal part of class is finished, the demonstration, I then take you off mute and you can put your videos on and we can have a live chat, and I don't record that bit. And then we opt the option to make and create. So it depends. Some people come to class, only come to the demonstration because they're taking a break during their work, they're working at home. Others stay because they want to have a chat and they've got to know the other people in the class, and it's a bit of community feel, and sometimes the discussion veers away from flowers and flower arranging, and then others will make as we go along as well. So it's whatever fits around you. It's whatever suits you. And I will say that some people that signed up for class, I've never met them because they only ever watch the recorded video, and sometimes I get a note from them from time to time, but I've never met them before. So if you are one of my learners who I've never met before, it's a special hello to you if you are watching this video. And then tonight, if you're local to me, we have got a flower arranging demonstration. My flower club only holds one flower arranging demonstration a year, and that's our Christmas demonstration, which always takes place on our regular club night in November. So we meet on the third Tuesday of the month. And if you've got any questions about that, if you comment under the video, I can give you some more details. Tickets are £10 and they are available on the door, and it's right in Faversham Town Centre if you are interested in finding out more about that. And then things generally, well, what's up with you? I'd love to hear all your flower arranging news, all the news that's going on in your makes and your crafts and your homemaking. So do get the conversation started and leave me a comment. The other things we've got on today, oh yes, I've told you about the sale on Saturday. My husband's away for the weekend, and I'm taking the opportunity to have some new carpets laid while he's away. And then I thought, well, if I'm doing that and having upheaval, I may as well have a pop-up shop at home as well. So you'll be very welcome to join me there. So I think probably that's it. Oh, I've just discovered. Turned round, I've got more flowers. So and that one's broken off. So what I might do is get rid of that. Got a nice bit of new growth there. I wonder whether I can just put that all in as one, or whether I'll need to separate it out. So next week, I thought, as I finished off the flowers here in the garden, would you like me to start a new series of Christmas from the garden? And I'm not quite sure what to call it, winter in the garden or Christmas in the garden, but I did think I might start looking around my garden and seeing whether there were anything I could use to do a little bit of itsy bitsy craft stroke flower arranging. So if you fancy that, do let me know in the comments or drop me a note on the Facebook page, and we'll see how much interest there is for that. So providing that, well, I don't know what will stop me actually. The weather. Possibly I could do it in the snow, and I could do it in the fog, and I could do it in the sunshine. Rain might be a little bit of difficulty, so we'll have to see how that goes. So I think probably I've wrapped it up, so I'll take a picture of that and put it on the community tab of the YouTube channel, and I'll also post a photograph on Instagram if you follow me there, or in my free Facebook group, Flower Star World. So that's all from me for now. The wind is getting up. It's about time I had a nice cup of tea. So I shall say goodbye, and for those of you who are joining me in Zoom flower class, I'll see you in 3¼ hours. So see you later. Bye.